Good evening, Razorback fans. Welcome to another episode of the Hog Talk podcast presented to you by FanDuel, live from the Sterling Soap and Roastery Studios, part of the Believe and Buzz Radio Network, where you can hear us each week on 106.7 Buzz 2 in Central Arkansas. All live shows are brought to you by Arkansas Brewing Company in downtown Ozark. I'm Porter Hayes. Alongside me, as always, is Adam Hall. On tonight's show, we will talk about Texas A&M's fine for faking an injury, Arkansas, Cincinnati tomorrow night exhibition opener, and we will touch on the Arkansas raffle that is up to a whopping $1,395. And then in about 10-15 minutes, we'll be joined by Brian Stultz of Fly War Eagle. But we'll jump right into it. Adam, Arkansas, Cincinnati tomorrow night. We will talk more in depth of Arkansas Auburn when Brian joins us, but never fear. If things don't go the way that we want things to go with football the rest of the season, basketball's here.
Definitely. I know that a lot of us have been waiting for it, no matter how this football season turned out. But yeah, it's been nice. I still watch the NBA, and like a lot of folks, as you can see here, still got my Phoenix Sun shirt on. They won last night, so I applaud that. But yeah, we're getting back in here. Razorback basketball, Calipari year 2. I'm ready for it.
Yeah. And I know it's funny that this right here, we weren't even going to touch on it, but let's talk about, before we get into Texas A&M stuff. But what really made me switch topics, because we were talking before we come on the air about this NBA betting scandal. On the outside in, it's just it might not be that big of a deal. But when you factor in the college aspect of it, now college athletes are able to bet on pro games now. I mean, I'm really curious. You follow NBA and all that, but do you think that this could have kind of saved some serious things from happening in the college aspect of it, these college athletes betting, and then we're seeing this come out with these illegal gambling stuff?
It's one of those that, while similar, I just look at them as completely different things, because you're getting into illegal poker games. Yes, you're getting into point shaving and things of that nature, but two completely different entities. It's just the timing of it is all kind of not, it's not funny, but it's funny in the sense of how it all lined out. There's always been the speculation for years when it comes to professional sports. I mean, we still all joke about it on Vegas odds and this, that, and the other, point shaving, whatever the case may be. Years ago, for those of us that are old enough to remember, the NBA referee, was it Tim Donaghy or something like that was found guilty of his charges. And it's one of those things that we don't know everything that's happened yet. They start throwing out headlines of the mafia being included in this. And at this point in time, at this day and age, I don't know what all is accurate and truthful in all of this. We'll see what happens. At the same time, I think it's going to be a bigger deal on how the NBA and these teams react to, like, Chauncey Billups, who is, current head coach of the Portland Trailblazers, how they do it. If it's just suspended indefinitely until they figure things out, or how that's going to play out. I think you may deal with some stricter rules when it comes to this from, say, the NBA and other professional leagues. But the way college is looking at it, I mean, you can bet on professional sports, don't bet on your own, and go from there.
Yeah, and I heard on the radio the guy from Bet Saracen was talking about, after a certain day, when these college athletes sign up for these betting sites, that you have to filter what they can and can't. There's got to be, that's got to be a headache, trying to figure out, okay, this name, and then it gets flagged, and then you got to go filter what they can and can't bet on. It's all just, to me, it's just too messy. It's not worth. Yes, I know. It's crazy to think that college players can bet on these things, but I guess in the aspect of, hey, that's their right to do what they want, but as long as they're not betting on this or that, it's just, you could also, you've heard it so much in the NBA about tanking. you're a college athlete and you're tanking or told to bet on these games, and you make money off this team where you think you could get drafted, and then you start betting the over under or tanking, then they don't draft you, or you're wanting to go to a different spot. Hey, I'm going to make this money off of this team because I really want to go. There's so many things that could happen with this that makes everything just, it could turn into a nightmare.
Well, and bringing up the current college players that have parents playing pro sport, we're seeing it more and more these days with these college athletes, and their third generation, fourth generation. A parent that's still currently playing now. A lot are retired already at this point, but some of them still have them playing, or they're still closely connected with a lot of these professional athletes. I think that's where you get into a sketchy area. The connection, the relationships that these players have to teams, to individuals, to agents, to whatever the case may be. I get that they're trying to find an avenue for these players to be able to do this. But at the same time, I wonder if this is something that, hey, we're going to go ahead and let this happen, and we're going to go ahead and do this, and then it's going to get out of hand, like we've seen things happen in the NCAA before, and they won't know how to control it.
Yeah.
So it's something that I think definitely is going to have to be watched. But, like I sent a text to you and the other guys, how long is it going to be before we see our first college athlete, have his NIL deal with one of the betting apps out there?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's coming. I think that might be why, they're shoehorning it in that way. Oh, they're allowed to bet. Now they're able to get NIL money off of it. Well, they're not betting, but they're representing this. So, I mean, it kind of makes it to where, okay, we're going to have them represent us, but yet now they're able to bet. And then just look at Bryce James and his connection with JJ Redick, how close he is with the James family. I mean, there's just too many close ties where you could loophole if you wanted to bet and make money off it. But speaking of, rules and new rules and trying to keep an eye on it, you have a situation like Texas A&M where they get caught, video surveillance or whatever, video footage of the player going down. You have a clip. We'll play it here in just a second. But leading into that, to me, what advantage did Arkansas get from that? Yes, you caught them. You gave them a fine. But in the end of it, what if it was a situation where Arkansas is driving down to score, momentum's gone, and that could potentially cost them the game? Oh, here's your $50,000 slap on the wrist, but in the end, Arkansas still loses in that situation.
It was definitely something. The crowd knew it when it happened because the guy standing up and then fell. And like I said, we'll play that here in a second. But no, you're totally right, because that was the drive, I believe, that Arkansas had like 4 first downs. And they're going down, I think, whatever it was, inside the 20 or around there. And the guy drops, clear as day, what he did, how he did it. I was surprised. They went ahead and charged him a timeout because he dropped after the ball was placed. But, like we discussed, so they've come out and fined Texas A&M $50,000. And they, basically wipe their hands of it. Like, oh, we've done our part. That's all we're going to do. Texas A&M put out, we don't teach our players to do that, whatever. And I'm kind of sitting here like, why don't they get in a sense like we do with targeting and other penalties? And why wouldn't he have to sit him for the half?
I got one better for you. Why not do it like they do in basketball? He falls down and you let the play run, and you can't do nothing until there's a dead ball or whatever. If you're going to fall down like that, he spotted the ball. Hey, sorry, you're playing with 11 men on this down.
Here's that clip right quick.
We have a player down. The question is, was the player down before the ball was spotted or after?
Number 7 of Texas A&M went down after the ball was ready for play. By rule, timeout is charged to Texas A&M.
There's your answer. Yep, there's the new rule, the point of emphasis this year in collegiate football.
There's a new rule created to prevent teams from feigning injuries to slow down tempo. And Tyreek Chappelle, after the ball is spotted, he ends up going down to the ground. And Bobby Petrino knows it. Go to
Yeah. I mean, that's just a thought I had. What you run it like they do in basketball. You fall down like that, hey, man, we'll get you after the play.
I think then you just run into the more because he's right there in the middle of it, so you can't get him off the field.
I bet he gets up quick.
Well, that's
you
very,
would really
that's
know
very
it'd be
true.
like somebody in the neck brace and you slap the briefcase on the floor.
100%. But there's got to be more on the player for doing that. I mean, $1,000 is a drop in the hat for these teams. It's nothing. Yeah. So you gave him a slap on the wrist, you cost him a timeout, and then that was the end of it.
Yeah, it's a new rule, but you see, I mean, that was even bad for Ole Miss standards. You know, I mean, somebody coming in and just blatantly falling down like that. But it's just a thought that, you know, I know in basketball, if a player gets injured, they don't get to call a timeout till they have the ball or play resumes. And it's just one of them ideas because, like you said, when did they announce this? Monday? You know, hey, it's almost like, you know, you had a bad call from a referee. Oh, well, after we, you know, reviewed this, you know, we're going to reprimand this referee. We're going to do this, but it still has no effect on that game. And in a position, I'm not saying it would have changed the outcome of the Arkansas Texas A&M game, but you could get into a position to where it is, and Arkansas still has that loss. Now they're in this situation they are now where this is a must-win game, and we're going to talk with Brian Stultz of Fly War Eagle here in just a second, but another thing where people are going to try to find ways like the communication between the coach. I know I got 15 seconds. I'm watching fall down right before they spot the ball. You're going to have that happen.
Yeah. It's one of those things you can say you hadn't coached all you want, but we all know that's false because it's one of those things that somebody at some point has taught them, whether it's taught them or just told them, hey, if you're in this situation, do this, and that be the end of it. It's one of those plays that one particular player didn't just come up with that on his own on a whim. Sorry.
Well, we're going to take a quick commercial break. After the break, we're going to bring on Brian Stultz of Fly War Eagle to preview the Arkansas-Auburn game. It looks, I mean, radar, all this stuff looks like it's going to be a wet one. So we'll see, get his thoughts on Bobby Petrino, get his thoughts on where each team stands, the thoughts of where Hugh Freeze stands, if there is a loss to Arkansas. But we'll talk to Brian Stultz and all that right after the break. Looking to enhance your home's curb appeal? Look no further than Vision Exteriors. As your trusted roofing, siding, and exterior experts, we're here to transform your property. Our skilled team ensures your job is not only functional, but also aesthetically pleasing. Along with roofing, we also offer window, gutter, and siding installation to boost your home's appearance with our quality options. Visit us at www.visionexteriors.com or call us at 479-397-4770. Let's make your vision a reality. And we head now via the Meadows Lumber Hotline. Bring in Brian Stultz of Fly War Eagle. Brian, I seen you sneaking the drink. This is our Thursday show. You want to drink while we're doing this, man? Go right at it, brother.
I couldn't hide it, could I?
No, I appreciate you coming on. How's everything going?
Everything's going great. How about you guys?
Good. So initially, I mean, thoughts of this game. We kind of ask everybody leading into this because just so much has changed with Arkansas this whole year, and things with Auburn could be heading down that road. But from the start of the season till now, what has been your thoughts and the change of heading into this game opposed to Sam Pittman coaching this, now Bobby Petrino's coaching this game?
Yeah, I think you always have to be aware of what Bobby Petrino can do. I mean, he's proven through the years that he's a good offensive coach, and he can put points on the board. And against this Auburn defense, I think that'll be tough for him. But at the same time, it's going to be messy. It's going to be rainy. It's going to be a little bit cold, and it'll be interesting to see what kind of offense he puts up on the board because, this Auburn defense is really, really good. They've held the Tigers in the games for the 4 SEC games, and we'll see. But I don't think anybody outside in Auburn expects anything but the best from Bobby Petrino. You know, of the past with Auburn and Jetgate with Tupperville and all that stuff that goes all the way back to 20 years ago. It's kind of interesting, but I think with Petrino, you never know what you're going to get, and you're going to get his best. And especially when he's auditioning for the head coaching job. So it's going to be interesting, and Auburn's defense is going to have to be aware of what the Razorbacks bring, because that green guy, and you have a lot of receivers and running backs and things like that, and they're explosive, and they're better than their record shows.
How loud is the noise surrounding Hugh Freeze and the hot seat in and around Auburn?
Yeah, it's always going to be loud. 4-game losing streak to start SEC play sucks. I mean, it is what it is. They've been so close. There have been some, you guys were talking about the SEC officials before I came on, and if any of those calls goes Auburn's way in the Oklahoma game, the Georgia game, they go up 17-0. Jordan Hare would be, on fire and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, it's close. I still believe he can get this turnaround. I think he can find the right offense maybe to get this turnaround. Jackson Arnold's kind of come up short in big moments and crucial moments for this offense and for the team. They had the chances against Texas A&M. They had a chance against Oklahoma. They had chances against Georgia. And, it's just they came up short.
So when you're talking about, getting things on the right track, from a fan base perspective, does a win in Fayetteville, and this kind of gauges how the Auburn fan base feels about Arkansas, does that justify him turning things around, or would it take beating Arkansas and then following it up with a win in Kentucky? Or is this win against Arkansas, would that be good enough?
I think it'd be good enough. I think getting a win on the road against Arkansas is always a big thing. I mean, Arkansas has always been a tough place to play for Auburn. I mean, the weather always seems to be bad there for some reason. It wasn't 2 years ago, but I mean, I remember the games in the 90s and early 2000s when the weather was just rainy or snowy and stuff like that. But I think a win would take a lot of pressure off him, and getting a home game against Kentucky next week, they go on against a great Vanderbilt team with Diego Pavia, which has been a thorn in his side the last 4 years, I will say, will be a difficult task. But I think a win would bring some common sense back to this fan base and what he can do.
I'm going to slightly switch gears, and then we can get back to football after this. But what all has transpired with Bruce Pearl up and deciding to retire and his son takes over? How are things around that with the basketball season coming up?
Yeah, that was sort of surprising, the timing of it. I mean, he basically built his program from what like the worst program I would say in Division I or Power 5 conferences to what it was now. I mean, SEC championships were the expectation, Final Fours were the expectations, number 1 seeds, number 1 rankings, everything like that, and to be able to hand it off to his son, in my personal opinion, I wish he would have went on and got some head coaching experience elsewhere before taking on a big job like this, because it is a big job now. Auburn basketball is a big job. One of the best home atmospheres in college basketball, just right up there with Fayetteville, and it's insane that. They kind of. I think the athletic department kind of lost the battle there, and just with Stephen Pearl taking over and not going, hey, can we hire anybody else? It was at that moment. I mean, kind of like Tony Bennett did with Virginia last year, where there was a head coach in waiting, maybe, but they kind of forced the Auburn's hand to say, hey, this is your job now, and. I think Steven's a great coach. I think he's a very good exit O's guy. I don't know if he has a personality to do it, but nobody has a personality, Bruce. So that is one thing that you're finding out with Calipari. Calipari is amazing. I mean, I'm a Kentucky guy. I mean, I didn't go to Kentucky, but I grew up in Kentucky, and I've seen Calipari's magic and stuff like that. But nobody can produce what Bruce did, and we'll see what Steven can do.
And that's the thing. You talked about the timing. As a fan base, you're so excited about, just how deep the SEC is in basketball now.
Yeah.
You're one of those programs, and it's not like, okay, he gave it a shot and we're going to ride out the SEC season. You're really stuck with your whole season trying to figure out who your team is leading into this deep SEC season. And then if it doesn't work out, how many years do you think that sets back the program if this thing doesn't work out?
Yeah, it could set back the program a lot. I mean, I have confidence in Steven. I don't have the most confidence in Steven, but at the time, like, they still have a roster that could be in the top 10. They brought in a lot of, like, maybe 4 or 5 key transfers, and then they had Jahad Bedford back, one of the best dynamic players in the nation, and so they have the talent. Just if they have the coaching, like, Steven is a defensive coach. Mike Burgomaster, his assistant, is an offensive coach. They work well together. I will say that. But if this blows up in their face, it could take Auburn, 20 years. I mean, look what happened after Cliff Ellis and how long it took Auburn to get back to being a basketball school, or not even a school, but a basketball where they were selling out arenas, they were selling out things like that, and winning championships. I mean, it took a while.
Going back to the football, so with Jackson Arnold kind of being up and down, if you will, from game to game. I know today Coach Freeze talked about, the possibility of making a change. What do you think it will take for him to pull the trigger and go with one of the backups to replace Jackson Arnold this weekend?
I think a couple of drives that are not productive. I think the leash is very short. I think there's reasons for that. I mean, like I said, Arnold has not come up in critical situations, and it's cost Auburn 4 games. I mean, against Baylor, they were running the ball well. They had Damari, they had who's off the team now. They had Jeremiah, and then they had Jackson Arnold. But I think a couple of unproductive drives to start the game, which could very happen against a defense in that weather. I think he makes a change.
And that's where I was going to go with, weather. I mean, that's going to play a huge role in this game. So does that, in a sense, make his leash a little bit longer, because the fact that you don't have that backup, that you're coming in as a backup and it's pouring down rain, or anything like that, or do you think he's that confident in his run game that he can suppress bringing in a backup to run this offense?
And you also have to remember that Auburn is starting a 17-year-old center, with Connor Liu being out for the season with torn ACL. So that's going to be a major challenge with a wet ball, possibly, more probably, and getting the snap off to Jackson Arnold or whoever's behind center. I think the leash might be a little longer than it should be, or it would be because of the weather. But if he's not productive and he's not finding the wide receivers in the rain, or he's missing passes and things like that, you have to go with another guy. I mean, you have to find out what another guy can do and what is possible for this team. And we've seen it before. I mean, we've seen it with. I mean, don't want to make the comparison, but Austin Simmons was the guy for Ole Miss, and then Trinidad Chambliss became. I'm not going to compare.
Arkansas is very well known for making backup quarterbacks. You don't have to beat around but we know where you're going with that. It's happened so many times against us. We're very very familiar with that.
So it can happen. I mean, I expect to see 2 quarterbacks on Saturday.
Outside of individual players, what does Auburn need to do as a whole, as a group, offensively, defensively, to win the game on Saturday?
I think I have the belief that they can win. I think with everything that's gone wrong this season, everything from the controversial plays to losing at the end, to losing in overtime last week, double overtime, I should say. I think there's some belief that when things could go wrong, it's going to go wrong, and that's been the case for a couple of years now. And but I think they need to believe that they can win. I mean, they walked into Fayetteville 2 years ago, and Peyton Thorne played probably his best game in Auburn uniform, and they won. And they can do it again, but they have to have the belief that when the game gets tight at the end of the game in the fourth quarter, that things are going to go their way. Now, will it? I don't know, but they have to have the belief that they can get it done.
So I want to throw out two magic numbers for you to
All right.
answer. Magic
All
number.
right.
How many defensive stops does Auburn have to get on Arkansas's offense? And the other magic number is how many points does Auburn have to put up to win this game?
Defensive stops. Wow. I would have to put 5. I would have to put 5 because as Arkansas has shown in the last 2 games, they can put points on the board easily. And that's not two bad teams that they just lost to by a total of 10 points. So that's pretty darn impressive. But the point, I think 30 points. I think 30 points is always the magic number, I think, for Auburn going back for 25 years. And, I think 30 points would be great. If they can get a little more, it might be a little bit better. But, 30 points right now when they're averaging 17, 16 in SEC play would be impressive.
How much revenge factor will there be for some of the Auburn players or coaches after Arkansas went into Auburn last year and won?
I don't think the revenge factor will play that much. I think they just want to win.
Mm-hmm.
I think the fact that they are 0-4 in SEC play plays a large. I mean, it's on their back, and they know it. The coaches know it. The fans definitely know it, and I think that game from last year is kind of wiped out. It was a bad loss. I would say, but at the same time, I don't think the revenge is on their mind. I think it's about getting a win, getting things back on track, and trying to get the season going like it was supposed to.
And I kind of ask a similar question we asked about basketball, but let's bring football into it.
Right.
With all these football coaches in the SEC losing jobs, all these coaching openings, from the fan base's point, how worried are they that because Arkansas is kind of in the similar situation of, we have Bobby Petrino, but outside of that, we don't know who we could possibly get to take Sam Pittman's spot. So when it comes to this game, what's the anxiety level for the fans of if we potentially lose to Arkansas, we're replacing a coach, and who would that be to lead us in and going into a 9-game SEC season? It just seems like there's a lot of SEC teams that are pulling the trigger because they know they got an extra SEC game to prepare for.
Yeah, I don't know who it would be, and I think the anxiety level with Auburn fans is always probably 10 out of 10. I mean, there was a Cam Newton year when they won the national title, and there was a whole anxiety of whether he'd be eligible or whether he'd be able to play. And then, it's always very, very high, the anxiety level here. But, with Hugh and I think with a win, he would show that, they're close. But if they don't, it might turn really ugly here. And I don't think the fans actually have a answer for who could replace him. I mean, who comes here? I mean, who would want to take this job? I mean, you wanted the job 2.5 years ago, got it. I got to be better by now, but I think it's going to be an interesting situation where a coach needs to come in with a mentality of if they get rid of you, which I don't think they should yet. Let me say that. But the coach mentality of, hey, this is me, this is my mentality, this is how I should run things, this is how I do things, and screw everyone off. I mean, that's basically what we needed. So
what would you say was maybe the biggest surprise, whether it's team, situation, whatever it may be, that's happened in the SEC this year?
I think you have to go with Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to go with Vanderbilt. I mean, having a quarterback like Diego Pavia is one thing, but they should have beat Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
and to go and beat LSU and have game day this week against Missouri, which Drinkwitz is being a really baby about. I think.
Yeah.
Like he's like, oh, we're just showing up. We're the side showing. Like that's how college game day works. Like, does he not know how it works? But at the same time, like Vanderbilt has been so good. It's so good to see Clark Lee, who I think is a good guy. I don't know him, but I've heard great things about him. And it's good to see Vanderbilt just get their reward after all of these years of getting their teeth trashed in. So yeah, I would go with Vanderbilt, and then I mean Auburn being 0-4 is not.
Yeah.
It's a big story. I mean, it's a big story because it's the third straight year they started 0-4, and that's pretty bad.
Yeah, and we'll get you out of here with this. This goes to the landscape of NIL, college football. We're seeing college football teams being turned around in 2 to 3 years now, and not 5 to 6 or 4 rebuilding, some taking 10 to 15 years. With the NIL situation at Auburn, how confident are you in if things are put in place the right way? You do get that magical guy to come in.
Yeah.
What's the confidence level that this thing could get turned around in 2 or 3 years?
You have to believe because, in 2008, Auburn was the worst team in college football, maybe in Power 5. 2 years later, they win the national title with Cam Newton. One guy made all the difference, maybe Nick Fairley as well. But besides him, there was no offensive starters in the NFL besides Cam Newton. I mean, sometimes it takes one guy, usually it takes more than that. But you look at, like, Ed Orgeron at LSU with Burrow and Jefferson and Chase. Like, you can get lucky in 1 year and just things fall your way. And that's what Auburn fans are hoping for. And we shall see.
Well, we really appreciate your time. I don't know if you're making the trip up to Fayetteville to cover the game, but if you are, bring a poncho, just safe travels, and hopefully it's a decent experience for you, because you're talking about the weather. I mean, we're in the state of Arkansas right now. You could experience all 4 seasons in one day in the state of Arkansas. So we appreciate your time.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And that was Brian Stultz of Fly War Eagle coming on to preview the Arkansas Auburn game. And we do apologize for the background noise on that. I don't know what was going on, but we'll try to clean that up when we clip this thing up.
Yeah, it happens. You're one of those things that put in environments, you got background noise, so we roll with it because we're live.
Yeah. All right. So Adam, hearing what he had to say, how important is a win for not just really, and here, I'm not going to make it selfish about Bobby Petrino, because there's a lot of people hoping that he does get the job. But if he is, in fact, the one that, you're talking about the easiest path to success of, he's already there. He can get some coordinators. You can get some NIL money. If everything falls into place, how important is this game on Saturday?
I think it's super important for the fact that, it's one of those things you can't just keep saying, like, we were almost there. Because guess what? You're now facing a team that is 0-4 in the SEC. You're facing a team that is unranked. Because you start off with Tennessee, then you got A&M. So now here you go. You got an unranked team. How are you going to perform? Because, you had to play from behind, but you performed well against Tennessee and A&M, especially given the previous weeks leading up to that. I look at this as kind of like the blinders and the gloves need to come off this game when it comes to constructive criticism. Overall, I'm not saying that it's one of those things that you just have to nitpick and beat everything down. But as far as I'm concerned, you have a winless SEC team coming in to Razorback Stadium. There's no excuses this game. You can't have weather as an excuse. You can't blame a referee. This is a game that, you know what, if your heart is where it says it is, this team is where it says it is, then let's see the product that you put out on the field. Let's stop sugarcoating things. Let's stop giving him the benefit of the doubt. Let's stop saying that, oh, well, he's got Pittman's recruits or Pittman's what. Everything is moving the goalposts when it comes to the defense of Bobby Petrino and this team. And I think that this weekend, everything needs to stop. So no more excuses for this, that, and the other. So I think this weekend will be the fairest shake of where we can grade where this team is at and where Coach Petrino is at in this realm of should he be the coach permanently or not.
Yeah, this is a must-win game for Bobby Petrino because, I don't care if it, and I think it's even worse if it is a one-score game, because now not only did you lose to an 0-4 team by one score, you're setting the trend of this is how it's going to be. We're going to just pass the torch, and we're going to go down the same road. You had 41-35 to Ole Miss, 32-31 to Memphis. You're playing outside of Memphis. That's the only ranked loss. So then you had Notre Dame, Tennessee, and A&M. If you're going against Tennessee, A&M, Ole Miss, and then you have trouble beating an 0-4 team in the SEC, that's showing you right there that it's not cut out. And you brought up a great point with the weather. You can't use this as an excuse because, I made this analogy a couple years ago. It's almost like when you're at a job and you have a thing called occurrences at work, and you can sit there and you do your fifth occurrence and 6 gets you fired. And it's always that unforeseen circumstance that gets you that final occurrence where you lose your job. You're like, well, this time it was the weather. Well, if you would have done things, not fumble the ball, not done all these things to pull out one of these wins, now you're not in a situation where this is a must win. This is a must win game because if they lose to Auburn, you have to abort even thinking about handing Bobby Petrino this job. And you need to focus on who we're going to get, because if you're not beating Auburn, I think also with the players aspect, you're still holding on to hope that you could beat Auburn, Mississippi State, and then maybe 1 or 2 of the final 3, whether it be LSU, Texas, and Missouri. You lose this one, you fall to 2-6, 0-4, and you're having to win your next 4 games in a row just to get bowl eligible. So I don't see it happening. If you're struggling to beat Auburn, maybe in the rain, but we'll see how that plays out. But then you have Mississippi State. You beat Auburn. You set yourself up to be playing somebody who is trending up. They took a loss. Now they're not going to come in as hot as what they were a couple of weeks ago. Now that's a winnable game. And then you go to Baton Rouge at 11 A&M, which we're seeing where's Brian Kelly's situation in 2 weeks when you play LSU? How hot is his seat? Then the following week, you got Texas. We know everything that's been being said about Arch. So, it's funny how we bring up this schedule. It's so daunting at the first of the year. Look at this gauntlet. Look at this SEC schedule. If you had a defense, yes, and I don't care if Sam Pittman was still the coach. If you had a defense, you would be sitting with 1 loss right now.
Mm-hmm. And I think something too, Transparent Text brought up the comment about the different coaching candidates and how it changes week to week and all this stuff. The further we get into this, and it's going to be, you're not going to name your permanent head coach right now, but the more jobs that become open, it makes it more difficult. Arkansas looks less enticing.
Mm-hmm.
You had Florida open up. And if at the end of the season, it's one of those things that LSU and Arkansas, their goals are different. And it's one of those things that, what is this? Brian Kelly's third season, I think, something like that. And they expected national championship. And it's one of those things that, yeah, you got the Heisman winner, but that's been it. And so I feel like at some point, whether it's this season or next season, I feel like it's something that if LSU doesn't get into this playoff and LSU doesn't potentially sniff the college football national championship, then they agree to part ways with Brian Kelly, or they let him go because it hasn't met their standard or what they expected. Expectations better than standards there. But that's something that I kind of foresee LSU within years of things just continue how they've been. LSU moving off of Brian Kelly.
Yeah.
When that job comes open, you're looking at other jobs that are more enticing than Arkansas is right now. And even Auburn, you throw in that mix. Yeah, it's been a mess with Hugh Freeze. But it's one of those things that we know that Auburn will pay a little bit more, whether it's NIL, whether it's coaches, whatever the case may be. So I think the more teams that fire their head coaches, the more difficult it's going to be for Arkansas to get the guy that they want. And that means it could even be if you wanted a John Summerall, if you wanted an Alex Golish at USF, you start having the Florida job open up. You have potentially for the LSU job open up. I mean, even the Virginia Techs and whatever. You have these guys that, hey, guess what? Maybe they don't want to coach in the SEC. I know John Summerall has said that he wants to. But it's one of those things that maybe these guys are like, Virginia Tech looks decent right now. Plus, they're throwing out there a pretty good package when it comes to renovations to the stadium and backing this program, that they want to take that into effect when Arkansas is just kind of sitting here struggling.
And look at Indiana. Look at Vandy. Two colleges, two schools that have pledged the same thing, and you're seeing it happen. Auburn, this is the one thing that if Arkansas beats Auburn and Hugh Freeze loses his job, that's the one I'm not worried about. When it comes to, you're talking about recruiting battle, I'm not worried about somebody picking Auburn over Arkansas when it comes to the coaching job, because the potential is there. And I posed the question of, is there a scenario where Bobby Petrino's the head coach and Hunter Yurachek's not the AD? I think that would be the only way that I would even consider acceptable. Because to me, I don't care who your coach is. If you still have the head administrator there, it's not going to work out, because you know what it takes. Look what Indiana's doing. Look what Virginia Tech. Let's see what happens in 3 years. I mean, we know the Bill Belichick stuff, but yeah, you brought in a coach. What NIL backing? What backing did they have financially? They just brought a name in hopes up. I never had high hopes for Brian Kelly. I got blasted for it. Because because we're Arkansas, we can't talk about another coach not working out. I've seen him as being the same as Jimbo Fisher, you have a Heisman Trophy quarterback. Yeah, he had a couple of 10 wins, but there's no difference between Brian Kelly now and what Dabo is now. You're winning games, but you're not getting to that level. And in LSU, you should have no problems getting the players. You have everything right there in your backyard. And if you can't win, yeah, I mean, it just wasn't a good fit. They forgot his fake accent that he had because he started winning 10 games, and now all of a sudden they're not winning those important games. You lose to Vanderbilt. Now, guess what? The accent memes are coming right back, and not even to remember the creepy, cringy video with the cameras twirling around him. I mean, let's get So that's
one thing. Coaches, We deal with more of not coaches watching as the administrations watch, but if there's any head coach or if there's anybody in the administration that you've got coaches or whatever, allowing your coaches to have sayings and one-liners so y'all can slap on t-shirts and stop putting out these cringy videos like they do. It's just one of those things that it's a laugh. It's all in good fun, but at the same time, it doesn't do you any good. And especially when you have these older coaches that are trying to be cool or trying to be hip or whatever the case may be, it's not a good look. But it's funny, those that do have an issue when, let's say, the likes of us comment on their coaching, and it's one of those things though. But yeah, Arkansas is in the situation that they're in, but we're not trying to sugarcoat it to make it seem like it's better than it is. And I hadn't thought about it, but I do kind of agree with you that, I kind of would be curious to see a Bobby Petrino led team without Hunter Yurachek. But at the same time, I'm still on the whole new regime kick. So
yeah, and that's the thing. And Adam, the only reason why I'm even considering it, because there's so many openings that's coming up, and we have to be realistic of where outside of our fan base, where do people see it appealing? John Tyson had to do everything he could to, don't do this. Oh, goodness gracious. I had a text come through from Brian. He said Hugh Freeze was. So, anyways, sorry, it kind of threw me for a loop and I kind of lost track of what I was saying, but,
well, it's one of those things too with our boosters and with whoever else, I guarantee that the different boosters have different ideas of who they want. But I think a lot of it, and we can play the John Calipari side of things. Do we think that somebody's going to come in and say, this is the coach we want and here's the money for it, like we saw John Tyson and John Calipari? No, I don't think that happens. But at the same time, it's one of those things that, and I hate saying this because I don't want Jerry Jones to have any say on anything that happens with this team, but at the same time, if Jerry Jones and John Tyson want to get together and throw their money at a Rhett Lashley or somebody, then so be it. But it's just one of those things. That there's boosters that are behind Petrino. That there's boosters that are still behind Lashley, etc. We started hearing the PJ Fleck talk this week, and it's just one of those.
Yeah,
wouldn't be mad at that. It'll be interesting, and it's one of those things that we're about to head into November. We still got Halloween to go, but it's just going to get more and more sloppy when it comes to names, coaching searches, and things like that when more jobs are coming open.
Yeah. And I remember where I was going with, the appealing, who is Arkansas appealing to outside of the fan base? How many of these people are looking at a Florida, potential LSU, potential Penn State, Virginia Tech, if they're promising all this money? And the fact that you have a guy like Bobby Petrino that you're probably going to be stuck with probably the 7th or 8th position. You're going to be in a Sam Pittman situation if this thing doesn't work out with Bobby Petrino. I think when it comes to the pecking order of these coaches, unless you have something going on with Lashley that you can throw a bag, you can bring him home, that type of deal. But when you're looking at the jobs opening, and of course, who's not looking at the AD and his lack of support and all that? Is it appealing? And if he does go, who are you going to get to come in and run that ship? There's just so many questions. So it's almost like, Adam, I kind of want it to work out because of the stability of, at least if he is the head coach, we can get a head start on things moving forward, and he can possibly take a discounted contract to bring in some coordinators, get a promise that he's going to get NIL money and turn this thing around. Because if this don't work out, I'm really worried about, all right, they change ADs. You're trying to find a coach that knows nothing about what they're going to do, who the AD is, where's the NIL support. There's too many questions to be had that somebody, a big name, is going to trust you to hold up your end of the bargain because they're trying to come here to build. They don't want to come here and be a death sentence. So, yeah, these next 4 weeks, these next 3-4 weeks is going to be very important.
Definitely. And I think something, too, that, us as fans and others need to maybe think about, and this isn't trying to say like, oh, we need to keep Coach Petrino just because of this, but this could very well be his interview for other schools also. Say Arkansas does decide to move on. Say Auburn does move on from Hugh Freeze. Do we want to see Bobby Petrino at Auburn? It's one of those things that, it mulls around in my head. Do I think he would end up at somewhere like Florida? No, I don't. Yeah. But Auburn, I could see. So it's one of those things that if Petrino is given the job, I mean, you go back to when he was here before, when he's been anywhere, whether he's the head coach or not, he is the offensive coordinator. So you're not going to have to pay for an offensive coordinator. Yeah, you're going to bring somebody in for maybe quarterback's coach or for recruiting purposes or whatever. But it's one of those things that, yeah, your money needs to go to defense. And I'll still say special teams, because outside of kickers, we have no punt return or kick return. Mm-hmm. So you special teams coordinator, defensive coordinator, I mean, it's one of those things that's where your money needs to go. And that needs to
Absolutely.
be understood, I feel like, on Coach Petrino's, understood on his part that if this does happen, hey, we're not going to pay you the $8-9 million. He's going to have to take the 6.5 to 7.5. I would feel like, but again, we'll see what happens. A lot will be, I think, determined, not necessarily decided, but it will start to be determined this weekend, depending on how this game goes against Auburn.
Yeah, it's, very important for, and I don't know how many times I've said this over the years I've done this podcast of numerous sports. This is a very important game for the whole athletic program of where it's going. You want this to work out, and I know we want a full new regime, but at this moment, I just get too worried about how many openings are coming. That can we get everything we wish for? Maybe if we know we have to pick and choose, I'm going to pick Bobby Petrino and him running the head coach if that means there's no longer the current athletic director. I don't know if you touched on the question, but I mean, can any coach overcome the failings? No. I mean, if he's here, we're going to fail. I'm sorry. We've said it over and over, and I will die on that hill because I just don't trust that he's going to get the NIL backing. If your boosters are making you stand up at the Little Rock Touchdown Club and kind of justify what you said or take back what you said or even address what you said, there's already a problem there. So he's kind of come in, and I think it's a little too late on that. And I think he, in a way, he is banking on Bobby Petrino winning some of these games because he thinks, well, if Bobby's here, then I'm here. And for people I'm talking to, that's not necessarily the case. So we'll see how all that plays out. But I really want to end the show on a positive note because, look, we got a day and a half per se, because the voting ends at 2 a.m. on Saturday morning. But Derek's Outlaws are in the running. They are currently in first place. We talked about them a couple of times on the show. Cody Tedford, good friend of mine at Ozark, has really helped out a lot with this. There has been a lot of social media attention around this between this Arkansas, Lebanon, Oregon. I'm just going to be honest. I don't think a lot of people understood the power of who you're connected with. And if you rally the right people together, you're seeing 1.6 million votes for Derek's High School. A town of 900 is leading this. So the more and more videos I see and all the blasphemy they're talking about small town Arkansas, it's made me want to root for them even harder. So look, get out and vote. You can vote 2 more times. If you haven't voted today, 3 more times. You can vote today, tomorrow, and then if you're that hardcore, Saturday morning before 2 a.m. voting stops. So let's help them get to the $1 million renovation prize. They were talking on the radio today that there's about an 8-foot drop between midfield to sideline. So they want to renovate their field, keep the grass, new concession stand. And if they win, there's going to be a huge party down there. I want to say that Rob Gronkowski might be there. Not for sure on all that, but I'm pretty sure something like that. But we also participated in a contest, and Adam, it's kind of sad that in the post I even had to put out a disclaimer, but our relationship with the university. I wanted to make sure everything was up on the up and up, but right here, Kenya Hefner, you've been contacted. You have won the tickets for the Arkansas Auburn game. Thank you for voting for the Derek's Outlaws. And look, everybody can put their differences aside no matter what. Everybody around the state of Arkansas has come together for the Outlaws and winning this prize. So we're right here at the finish line. Adam, I've voted every day. My family, friends, coworkers, everybody's voting for the Derek's Outlaws.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I mean, the picture we put up there from Facebook, just the night and day difference between the two fields, and going through too, just reading some comments and posts because it has been all over social media. And, there's a lot of people that, they want to poke fun at the size of the town of Dirks and this, that, and the other. And I don't think they realize, and some people have pointed out, like, the entire town goes to these games. Like it's packed, packed stadium week in, week out. So this is definitely something that these people deserve. The love and support that they have been getting from not just Arkansas, but all over is tremendous. So, they're right here at the finish line. They just got to reel it in.
Yeah, and we're both from Arkansas, Adam. It's like, my small town. We're the Ozark Hillbillies, and I take huge pride in going to school there, being from there. My kids go to school there. It's not just something I put on my wall. You see the helmet, you see the flag, you see that the other helmet is up with Marty McGee on the set of the SEC network. The football right there was my son's game ball he got the other night. I take a lot of pride in our hometown. So you think a town like Derrick's taking the chance of even entering this contest, and now you have the whole South on your side, the country. They've got votes for all 50 states. So, they should be very proud of what they're doing, and the fact that they're so close to winning, it really means a lot that they can pull this off. And I'm really excited to see if they do indeed win, and I will definitely be there for the celebration.
Oh, 100%. I'd be curious just to see who all actually, who they get to show up if it happens.
Well, you got to think Jeff Foxworthy. I mean, you got John Daly, Jeff Foxworthy, Houston Nutt was talking. I mean, they've got Darren McFadden. They've had a lot of music artists. I mean, it's really cool to see. You never know in the world of networking who and who they know and how it spreads. And 1.6 million votes for Derrick's Outlaws. I mean, that just speaks volumes of what everybody's doing for them.
Right there at the finish line. So just keep it going to two or three more days.
Yep. All right. Well, that will do it for this episode of the Hog Talk podcast presented to you by FanDuel. Before we go, the line has shifted. So if you're a betting person, the line for Arkansas Auburn is now at 2.5 points via FanDuel, 2.5 point underdog. And the over-under is 55, money line, -130 or -134 for Arkansas, +114 for Auburn. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I want to thank Brian for jumping on and talking some Auburn, Arkansas. Thank you for all of our sponsors, and we will catch you on Sunday.